As a veteran-owned brewery, it was not something that we felt we wanted to do. It was something that we felt we needed to do to support veterans organizations.
You are listening to Hops News, the trusted source in beer culture news. Welcome your hosts, Jay Brew and DJ Dano.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for episode 5. We got another day with DJ Dano joining us. Dano, got a good episode coming up, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to see with this other brewery that's going to be coming on, 14th Star Brewery up in Vermont. I think they're going to have a really cool approach with what they do with their brewery.
Yeah, it sounds like Andrea up there with 14 Star is going to have some good information to tell us, and I'm definitely excited about hearing that. Brotherly love. What's the word, dude?
I don't know, man. I think he might be out. I'm not sure where he's at.
Yeah, so we're missing the other part of our show again. So if anybody out there sees him, just put a beer in his hand and steer him back this direction. We'd love to have him back. Again, we're gonna have Andrea from 14 Star Brewing, a veteran-owned brewery up in Vermont, tell us a little bit about their story and what they're doing with the community. They're doing some awesome stuff up there with the veteran community especially, but with the community in general. So stick around. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with that conversation.
Welcome back from the break. Here's Jay Brew and DJ Dano.
All right, welcome back from the break. We've got Andrea from 14th Star Brewing. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I know it's early in the morning, and it's kind of time for the coffee right now on the East Coast, but we definitely thank you for taking your time out of this Friday morning and joining us.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. We're up and running. The canning line's going, so we're off and running.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about 14th Star Brewing. I'm pretty interested in it from reading the website, obviously being a veteran myself and hearing your guys' origins. But if you could just tell us a little bit about your guys' brewery that you got up there.
Sure. So the idea for 14th Star Brewing Company was actually conceived on the battlefield of East Afghanistan. Steve Ghanin, who's the founder, is still in the Army, was deployed, and it was kind of a mental exercise for him, something to occupy his mind, wanted to think of something that he could do after retirement from the Army. And he is a lifelong learner. From the time he was a child, something that would interest him, he would research until he knew as much as he could possibly find about it. And he had been making soap and cheese, and beer was kind of a natural progression. Had been doing it for years, so thought, hey, why not start a brewery? And wrote the business plan on the back of a battle notebook with mostly fictitious numbers because he didn't have access to anything, the internet or any of that data. And the numbers looked good to him. So when he came back after some discussion with his wife, decided he's going to start this small 3.5 barrel brewing company. The original brewing equipment was constructed out of old maple sap collection tanks. And from there, within a year, it just kind of took off. It grew a life of its own. Vermont is a very patriotic state, and Franklin County, where we're located, is even more so. We have a very, very large population of currently serving and past serving veterans. And so once people learned of that, the interest in the brewery was almost instantaneous. And then the fact that really good beer was coming from it just helped that popularity. Within a year, he hired Dan Sartwell, who is our brewmaster. Dan has previous brewing experience with other large craft beer companies here in Vermont, but had actually not been working in the craft beer industry when he was hired. Dan helped to grow that small 3.5 barrel brewery to the point where expansion was necessary. It was either remain a small, locally producing and locally distributing craft brewery or expand. There was an old bowling alley going out in the city of Saint Albans that left a big 16,000 square foot space empty. And with some work with property owners and some construction, we are now in a 16,000 square foot facility with a 30-barrel brew house. Our production went from 200 barrels a year at the small facility. So this year we will make just over 6,000 barrels. Next year targeting over 8,000. And now we have 5 full-time brew house staff. We have a tap room that's 3 times larger than our original brewery was. We have a restaurant in here. We also are creating an event space. So we continue to grow here in the city of Saint Albans, and it all started back in eastern Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. That's quite a leap to go from 3 barrels to a 30-barrel brew house. That's impressive.
It was, and many nights I lost some sleep over when we were doing the construction. I came on board in between, just as we were getting ready to transition to this large space. And, when you're still producing on a 3.5 barrel system, but you're getting invoices for your 30 barrel system, there's a little bit of sleep loss there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can definitely relate to that. Those expenditures that happen before the cash is flowing in from that type of investment. So that's pretty interesting. What is the tell me a little bit about the name. There's obviously some, I have a feeling there's some ties to the military through the name of the brewery. Is that true?
Well, it's more ties to the state of Vermont. So Vermont was the 14th state in the Union. We were the first one after the original 13 colonies became state. And the 14th star comes into play because us here in Vermont, we're a very proud people. And at the time that we became a state, Kentucky had already applied to become the 15th state. And we had wanted Congress to create a new flag. They had been flying the Betsy Ross 13 stars in the circle, and they wouldn't. So being the stubborn bunch that we are, we decided that we were going to fly a 14th star flag. So on every flag that was flying here in Vermont, we sewed a big old star right in the middle of those 13 round stars. And those are original 14th star flags are in very rare existence. But that kind of became a symbol of, who we are as Vermonters. We are stubborn. We are very persistent, and we don't quit.
Yeah, that probably ties back to the start of the brewery as well. Obviously, being in Afghanistan and planning a business is not the ideal place to do it, but it takes some of that stubbornness to make it happen and make that dream come true once you get back to the States. So absolutely, yeah, definitely. So obviously, we know a little bit about the brewery and a little bit about the culture of the brewery. Tell us about the work that the brewery is doing within the community.
Well, one of the things that we've always wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide something back to those people that helped us to grow so quickly and so immensely. Stephen grew up here in this area, and it's pretty common knowledge. I'm his sister. I came on board from a pharmaceutical company, and the reason I jumped ship was because of the passion, not just for making really good beer. We use that as a vehicle because we're very passionate about creating communities. St. Albans, for a very long time, has not had much of a reputation as a destination. It's kind of been a pit stop for people from Boston headed up to Canada, or for Canadians who are headed down to Burlington to spend a day. Most people not knowing that there's a lot of really great stuff here in St. Albans. There's some tremendous restaurants. There's some wonderful sights to see. We have access to Lake Champlain here. And so we wanted to not only bring more attention to St. Albans and all of the wonderful things that are here, but also to help create economy here in St. Albans, as well as helping to provide those for those that are less fortunate. As a veteran-owned brewery, it was it was not something that we felt we wanted to do. It was something that we felt we needed to do to support veterans organizations. And we, our flagship beer is a hoppy amber ale, and it's called Valor. There's a picture of a sailor holding a keg of beer on the can. All of our batches of Valor from the day that we started brewing it to today, every single one of those batches, a portion of the proceeds goes to an organization called Purple Hearts Reunited. It's a company or a foundation that was started by an Army. He's now a major here in the state of Vermont by the name of Zach Fike. And he made it his mission to locate lost or stolen medals of valor and to return them to where they rightfully belonged, whether that soldier was still alive or, if not, his or her family. And he started doing this with money out of his own pocket. It was something that he just felt deeply. And so seeing him do this work and how much that closure meant to families, it was something that we absolutely wanted to get involved with. And so we still do a lot of stuff with Purple Hearts Reunited to this day, as well as our Valor supporting that cause. We also regularly support Veterans Count, which is an organization that works closely with the Easter SEALs to provide critical care services to currently and past serving members of the armed forces here in Vermont. They have chapters all over the United States, and the one here in Vermont is relatively new. So we've been working to try and get them a little more notoriety, a little bit more financial assistance, and also to get our veterans in this community to know that help is there. We have our Vermont National Guard Charitable Foundation. That is an organization that provides currently serving Air and Army National Guard service members additional care services for them and their families. And we also regularly support the Josh Pallotta Fund. That has actually become one of our biggest fundraisers. It's called 11 Bravo. Josh was an infantryman that suffered from PTSD and TBI, and 2 years ago in September took his own life. His mother founded the Josh Pallotta Fund, which is a foundation geared at bringing awareness to veteran suicide and also working to end veteran suicide. They are currently working to raise money to build a home that will be a rehabilitative and therapeutic home for Vermont soldiers with PTSD and TBI.
Yeah,
and those are the four veterans organizations that we regularly support. But we also host a whole slew of local fundraisers here in our tap room and out in the community. Every year for Green Up Day, we form 14th Star Green Up Army. We buy everybody that volunteers T-shirts that have our Green Up Army logo on them. And you can see out in the community anywhere from 20 to 50 14th Star Green Up Army people out there cleaning up on Green Up Day. And then we usually bring them back to the tap room and provide food and refreshments for them afterward. Last year we had a very successful drive to have our customers help us to supply our local food shelf with milk and eggs for an entire year. Anyone that donated enough money to supply that for a week, we in turn gave them one of our special edition limited bottled anniversary beers. And so it's amazing to us to see the amount of help this community is willing to provide if they just know where to go to do it.
Yeah, it's great being able to utilize, y'all's craft to be able to bring people together like that. That seems like a perfect example of how beer can be used as a tool to, just get people involved in ways they maybe would not have thought of before.
Yeah. I mean, we have a fairly large following on social media. Our tap room, we advertise everything in our tap room, and I've always said that there are good people out there. They just don't know where to go. And when we give them that direction of where to go to help, they come out in droves. We host a run for beer every May. We've done the last 2 years. The first year was to support a local woman who has heart disease. She is on the transplant waiting list, but she has to travel to and from Boston a couple of times a week for special treatments. and it gets really expensive. Our first year that we did this run for beer, we had less than 6 weeks to organize. It's a 5K fun run. It's not timed. The attempt being to get so many people out that normally wouldn't do this kind of thing. Within 6 weeks, we had almost 300 runners. We were able to raise over $10,000 to help her. And it's just amazing to me to see that kind of outpouring of support.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys have a lot of great stuff going on, and not just in the veteran or the military realm, but even in organizations like that. And I have to say that the returning of the medals is definitely an interesting cause, especially nowadays with the internet, Facebook, Twitter, and all of that stuff. I've seen several occasions where people are posting, found medals and found pictures and stuff like that I know family members out there would cherish if they had it, of people trying to find the recipients of that or who's in the photos or something like that. So it's definitely an interesting cause, and I definitely want to get some more information offline about that when we're finished up here. But yeah, it's definitely, I think there's a need for it, and with the veteran suicide rate the way it is, I think that we're going to start seeing more effort being put towards trying to fix that issue right now. I think it's known throughout, most of our society that that's an issue, and there's not enough people that are doing things around it right now. So it's great to hear an organization like that.
Yeah, we've been very, very fortunate to be able to be a part of that. When as a veteran-owned organization, and having our owner have had his own struggles, with PTSD when he came back, that knowing that there's an organization out there that's looking to not just bring awareness to it, but do something about it, and the fact that they've wanted our help, we feel like we're doing something, and that's exactly what this organization's about. Yeah,
for sure. I can tell you, from a personal standpoint, I don't know of any veteran that hasn't been affected by the suicides in veterans. I think it's that big of a problem that there's probably not many veterans to say that they don't know somebody that's been a part of that statistic. So definitely hats off to you guys for taking that lead and charging after that like that. That's great work.
Well, thank you.
So obviously, with all of the good stuff that you guys are doing, I think that it's fair to say that the experience that consumers or customers have when they go into a brewery's tap room is what they're after. It's not always necessarily the liquid that's in the glass, although that is a big reason why people go, but I think they also go for the experience that the brewery has to offer. So if you could just tell us a little bit about what a customer or consumer might experience when they walk into your guys' tap room.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I tell people all the time that craft beer isn't really just about craft beer. It's about the craft beer experience. It's become this whole recreational activity all on its own. We get a lot of people here in Vermont that are on beercations because Vermont's so well known for having such great craft beer. When people come into our tap room, the first thing that they're going to notice is it's this really great, vast, expansive space that has picnic tables rather than, round tables and chairs. We want people to converse. We want people to be able to just sit down, and whether they're talking about beer, whether they're talking about, as everybody knows right now, politics, or anything going on locally, where they're from. We want people to share their experiences with other people here in our tap room. Our bar is a very large bar, which it's kind of funny. Most people don't know. We kept one of the bowling lanes that was in the original bowling alley, and we created our bar top with that. That was actually the last bowling lane that our owner bowled on with his daughter before they tore the bowling alley out. So a little fun fact. But when people come in at any given time, looking around the bar, we always thought that we would have a demographic, but we don't. We assumed it would be, mid-20s to mid-40s professionals. we get every single walk of life, every age group, every economic section of our society in our brewery, in our tap room, and it's wonderful. There are nights where I will just sit in a corner and I'll just watch, because it's so cool to see people from so many different walks of life all interacting and everybody just having the most incredible time. We have flights. We offer flights for people to be able to try more than one of our beers. And our bar staff is all very well versed in what styles of beer we have, what the different flavors in the different beers are, which ones are malty, which ones are more hop forward, which ones are a little easier on the palate. And they're also really wonderfully passionate people about not just the craft beer industry, but also about the community around us. When people come in, they can expect to be greeted. They can expect to have smiling faces and knowledgeable bartenders. And the way that the community all comes together in our tap room, whether you're a part of our local physical community or you're a part of the craft beer community, or you're just a part of that community that wants to come in and see what this is all about, it all blends together in our tap room. We have barbecue from a company called Smokin' Butts Barbecue, and when you walk in that door, that's exactly what you smell. And they provide some really great food that accompanies our beer so well. We have large windows that look out into the brewery, so we usually brew in 2 shifts. So a lot of times we still have brewing going on when people are coming in, so they're able to watch that in action. We offer tours as long as people call ahead, and we'll bring them out into the brewery and we'll explain the brewing process and show them the equipment and the packaging and give them that real up close and personal experience of what it's like to be in the brewery. But most of all, I think what people will experience more than anything is just a really chill, really great vibe where you can come with your kids. We have games for kids. You can come with your buddies. It's great for a girls' night out. We have live entertainment 3 or 4 times a month. We do some really great local bands. And then, a couple of times a month, we usually have some event benefiting one organization or another as well.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great place, and this is going to be the perfect episode going into Veterans Day approaching. So, it sounds like it would be a great place to come and enjoy a beer, and I bet with a name like Smokin' Butts, that barbecue's probably on point.
It is fantastic. I keep telling them I'm just going to get fat while they're here, because I walk out of my office and that's all that I can smell is barbecue. And the people that own the BBQ Company are actually people that have been customers of ours since the day we opened our doors back in the old brewery. And we've gotten to know them really well over the last few years. So as we contemplated putting in a restaurant, the talks with them got a little more serious. We've done a number of charitable events with them. So their moral compass is in line with ours. And being friends, as well as knowing that they care just as much about this community because this is where they're from, means a whole lot. And knowing that when I hand them the key to this building, I can trust that they're gonna do the exact same thing that I would do inside this building, and that's just provide a great experience and do as much as we can for the community, for our employees, for our customers. So that partnership has been nothing but a blessing for all of us.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. So with a brew house that big, what's your style of beers that you guys brew and make available?
We have multiple styles of beers. On draft in our tap room, we try to keep about 15 different beers. Everything from an American wheat beer, which is the lightest beer that we make. It's kind of, I tend to call it our gateway beer. It's for those people who really want to try craft beer, who really want to get into craft beer, but haven't developed that palate yet for wicked intense flavors and hoppy beers. And our that golden wheat, that American wheat beer, does phenomenally well on tap here in our draft here in our tap room. It's also something that we can and distribute out into the state of Vermont currently. We have a stout that is a maple breakfast stout. It's an oatmeal stout. We brew with real Vermont maple syrup and small batch cold brew coffee. Our brewmaster goes from sugar house to sugar house and literally does maple syrup tastings the same way that people go from brewery to brewery to do beer tastings, to ensure that the syrup that he puts into this beer is exactly what he's looking for, that it doesn't have any kind of off flavors that might be accentuated in the beer. And it's just an amazing beer that's doing phenomenally well, both here in the state of Vermont and in Massachusetts. We have a double IPA that is by far our most popular beer. It is called Tribute. It is in a bright green can, and I can't tell you how many phone calls, emails, text messages, Facebook messages we get on a regular basis. Where can I find your Tribute? And from all over the United States. Currently, we're only distributing in Vermont and Massachusetts. We are in the final stages of New Hampshire approval. But we get messages from as far away as California, Texas, Washington State, people looking for our double IPA. So that's very much in demand. So our beers run the whole gamut. We have extremely talented brewers who do a great job of making super solid, wonderful beers regardless of the style. We have a couple of sours that, in my personal opinion, they don't make enough because I love sour beer. It's called a Vermonter Weiss, and it's a Berliner style beer that they use organic Greek yogurt to sour, the lactobacillus in that. And it's amazing to see them come up with these ideas and these creations and then be able to taste it at the end. And my God, that's a good beer.
Yeah, that sounds like you have some talented brewers up there, and definitely the chilly start to the morning that we have down here, I could definitely settle into one of those pints of that stout you were talking about. That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
So if we were to walk into your tap room today and belly up to the bar and tell them to pour us a pint of the brewer's choice, what would it be?
I would have to say that it would probably be what we're calling B72. It's another double IPA. It's actually been rated on the internet and all of those beer rating sites higher than our Tribute. So it's a double IPA that has some of the same characteristics as the Tribute does, but this one was done with a Vermont ale yeast. So it has a much juicier flavor to it, a much silkier texture, and we have a hard time keeping it on tap. I was at a brew fest in Martha's Vineyard a few weeks ago, and we hadn't released any of this B72 to Massachusetts, but people were talking about it and wanted to know if I brought some. That would probably be what you would be served, because it's kind of become everybody's favorite.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about doing this over Skype is that we can't be there to taste those beers, Dano.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's like a tease sitting here listening to you describe the beer, and I'm like, yeah, I could drink probably 2 or 3 of those right now talking about it just so we can get an idea of what they are.
Well, we're not canning the B72, so that's not something that you would get in a care package. However, there are definitely others.
Yeah, nice. So, Andrea, we definitely appreciate you joining us this morning. And if you could, how do the listeners find out more about your guys' brewery?
So we do have a web page, which is 14thstarbrewing.com. However, that's in the process of being completely revamped. So there's some stuff on there that's not really relevant or up to date, but we are in the process of changing that. The best way for people to find out what's going on here at the brewery or what we're releasing is to go to our Facebook page. Everything that we do, we release out on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Our Twitter isn't really very active, but Facebook and Instagram certainly are. And that is absolutely the best way for people to find out, everything from what's on tap, although we keep that up to date on Untapped. But whatever we have going in our, whatever we have for entertainment or a fundraiser, anything like that, we release out on social media.
Awesome. Andrea with 14th Star Brewing. If we ever make it up to Vermont, I'm definitely stopping in and drinking some of that beer. So,
I certainly hope that you do.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you joining us this early morning. And it sounds like you guys are crushing it. Would love to visit sometime and check it out in person. But truly, we appreciate you joining us and looking forward to getting this episode out and letting the listeners hear a little bit more about 14th Star Brewing.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. And stick around. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back from the break. Here's J. Brew and DJ Dano.
All right, welcome back from the break. That was a great conversation with Andrea from 14 Star Brewing. It sounds like they're up there crushing it, Dano.
Yeah, it's some major growth and, went from this, the smaller barrel system they had to the large system and, converting over a bowling alley. I thought that was pretty neat. I've never heard of a brewery doing that before.
Yeah, definitely. I bet you that bar that was made out of an old lane is pretty impressive to see. I'd definitely like to get up there and see that.
Yeah, you'd probably get a couple strikeouts on that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely with the beer selection. It sounds like they have a pretty amazing beer selection too. So we're going to move into the loyal listener pay it forward. So we're going to do things a little bit differently here. If you're listening, we're going to obviously post this episode on our Twitter account and on our Facebook account, and those are very easy to find at Hops News. Again, that's at Hops News, and you'll find either one of those accounts. But if you share it on Facebook or retweet the tweet on Twitter, we'll select one of the people that do that for a $20 iTunes gift card. Pretty easy to win a $20 iTunes gift card,
That's a great thing to have.
It is. A lot of people buying music and paying for subscriptions on iTunes, so easy way to get it. Also, don't forget about our Hops News hotline and our Hops News email address, hopsnewspod@gmail.com, hopsnewspod@gmail.com, and our hotline 828-278-9952. Again, that's 828-278-9952. Would love to hear about the awesome breweries in your area and organizations working with breweries, keeping the beer culture moving. So if you have any questions or comments, you can hit us back on either one of the hotline or the email and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We appreciate you listening and look forward to the next episode. Cheers.
Hops News is a We Can So You Can Foundation production. We Can So You Can Foundation supports the communities it serves through investment in social-minded businesses engaged primarily in education, veteran services, and affordable housing. To learn more about the We Can So You Can Foundation, please visit wecansoyoucan.org. Thank you for listening.